October 2024. We have two public hearings. Before we start the public hearing, can we begin with the Pledge of Allegiance? Ed, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attendance.
Attendance, please.
Patrick Hoppin.
Present.
Julianne Nolan. Present. Gerald O'Neill.
Present.
Daniel Chukan.
Present.
Edward Wynn.
Present.
Juan Leon.
Present.
James Vaccaro.
Present.
Greg Gaxiola. Present. Matt Esposito. Present. Rich Casey. Present. You have a quorum.
Okay, we have a quorum. You okay? All right, before we start the first public hearing, the statement is being read into the record. The planning board shall have the right to rely on any information that is presented by the applicant. Excuse me. If any such information is later found to be inaccurate or incorrect, the planning board may determine that any approvals, building permits, or other actions previously granted in connection with the application are null and void. The first public hearing is?
Public hearing job number 24-28A, North Queens RE LLC. Purpose, interior alterations and a roof raise for a change of use to a stone cutting operation along with associated site improvements.
Okay, who's here on behalf of the applicant?
Good evening, board.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
My name is Dan Hurley, Subsurface Engineering. Address is 105 Maxis Road, Suite 124, Melville, New York, 11747.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Please proceed.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. As the Secretary alluded to, we're here requesting approval of a stone cutting operation and variance for, which will require a variance for parking. The site is a relatively small site with an existing building. We're intending to raise the roof to accommodate the interior operations. Associated with that, we have interior modifications and site improvements, including removing and replacing curb cuts, new building facade, screening plant, landscaping screening, and pavement markings and striping to accommodate on-site traffic flow.
Okay. Matt, do we have a, okay, there we go. The site plan? You want to describe the site plan to us, sir?
The site located at 801 North Queens Ave is...
Hold on, I apologize. The Planning Commissioner, Denise Graziano, issued on October 1st, 2024, a memo regarding this particular application. There are a series of conditions, covenants, and restrictions, and other items that are listed. Does your client have any issues, any concerns, anything that they would like to bring to our attention before you get back into your presentation?
No, sir.
So your client agrees to all of the conditions, all of the covenants, all of the restrictions. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please proceed.
The site is impervious primarily and with an existing building of about 6,500 square feet. The existing site is dilapidated asphalt, some failing on-site drainage, which as part of the site improvements, we'd be removing and replacing, improving with some impervious area, screening plants, and proper pavement markings and stripings and drainage improvements, meeting the requirements of the town of Babylon. The refuse enclosure, of course, is an improvement. And yeah, I think that's, you know, they'll be replacing the fencing, new gates, new curb cuts in accordance with the DPW's requirements for the highway improvements. Anything other particular you guys would like to look at or discuss?
Does the board have any questions?
Could you please explain in detail the type of operation the business will be running here?
Yes. I had a prepared explanation of the stone cutting operation, so I'm going to read that now. The proposed state-of-art stone cutting facility will serve as a leading hub for precision stone fabrication catering to the construction, architecture, and design industries. Equipped with advanced technology, including CNC machines, water jet cutters, and laser-guided tools, the facility will transform raw stone into high-quality, customized products such as countertops, flooring, cladding, bespoke architecture elements. The facility's focus on efficiency and sustainability set it apart. The cutting-edge equipment is designed to optimize material use, reducing waste, and incorporating recycled processes of stone offcuts. A water recycling system will minimize the environmental impact, and energy efficiency machinery will further enhance the facility's eco-friendly operations. The facility will be operated by a skilled workforce trained in the latest stone cutting fabrication techniques, ensuring that every product meets exact standards. The combination of technology and expertise will enable the facility to handle large-scale commercial projects and individual custom orders, offering flexibility and high precision. Overall, this facility will elevate the quality and efficiency of stone fabrication, meeting a growing demand of customers, high-end stone products, while maintaining a strong commitment to sustainability. The facility will operate from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that's really all I got there.
How will this operation, I'm sorry, how will this operation comply with any state or local regulations?
Our compliance with the local regulations is in the covenants, the requirements by the planning board, and the requirements of the town to operate as a stone cutting facility, such as having air filtration systems to eliminate any dust from leaving the facility, and having an interior closed drainage system and filtration system to reuse water. That will have us complying with the local and the state requirements for environmental requirements.
And are there any permits required?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And what about safety regulations on-site for the workers?
All the workers will be required to have the necessary OSHA training that allows them to operate heavy machinery, and any particular trainings to operate the advanced stone cutting material equipment.
Thank you. You just touched upon this, but can you expand a little bit upon the structures that might be in place, or the plans that you might have to capture the wastewater? And can you talk a little bit about that process and what you're doing to dispose of it properly?
Inside the building, there's a series of trench drains and filtration systems. We have proposed 2 filtration systems. One, as you can see on your screen, is on the paper north, and one on the paper south, with trench drains lining the area and at the exits. So the intention is any water used for the stone cutting operation is intended to flow into these drains, go into a filtration system, and get reused indefinitely. There's should be little to no exchange of water once the system is up and running. So as far as the disposal, it would be, I guess, disposing of filtration, filter screenings and stuff of that sort for the water filtration and the air filtration systems. But and then as far as any offshoots from stone, as I mentioned, this is in a very advanced facility. We're intending to use top-of-the-line equipment, and there shouldn't be much large waste based off of the raw material coming in. I that satisfy your question?
Sure, that's fine. So with regards to the water, what you're saying is that it's just going to be reused? So you're not going to
Correct.
dispose of it anywhere, it's just going to keep being reused?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Jimmy? Your question? Talk a little bit more about the, is there anybody else who has a question before I ask mine? Okay. Talk a little bit more about air filtration. And I've seen stories about, now we're not talking about a state-of-the-art facility, but about employees suffering severe and serious lung damage as a result of inhaling the dust. How is this going to be different? That comes from, milling stone.
Right, I think that comes in part with the employees being properly trained with the required PPE that they have to wear and maintaining the air filtration systems, which will be located throughout the facility that will intake air at the required rate. On the architectural plans, I know we have specifications for the air filtration systems. And I think the intention is to just have such a high rate of air exchange, right? That there's constantly air getting sucked out, and locate them in areas where dust is produced. In addition to that, a lot of the water cutting is, a lot of the stone fabrication is water cutting, so the dust that's produced should be at a minimum.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the board regarding this particular application? No. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I need a motion to close the public hearing and reserve decision. A motion by Juan,
Motion to close the public hearing?
second by Ed.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing is now closed. The decision has been reserved in order for us to review the feedback we've received this evening and any open site plans that may exist. The record will remain open for written comments. To follow up on the status of the application or submit additional written comments, you can contact the planning department in either of the following methods, either in person. The planning department is located in the west wing of Town Hall. Applications, documents, plans are available for inspection between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. or by phone 631-957-3103 or via email planning comments, one word, at townofbablin.com, one word. Thank you very much.
We have another.
Yes.
Public hearing, site plan review, minor subdivision, lifting of town board covenant and restrictions. Job 24-31, ABI, 45 Dale Street, LLC. To restore an existing transfer station that was damaged due to fire, legalize the expansion of the transfer station used to an adjacent parcel, lift previously imposed town board covenant restrictions, as well as subdivide the original approved site plan to no longer include Suffolk County Tax Map Number 174-2-23.011.
Okay. Counsel, could you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, good evening, Chairman Halpin, members of the board. For the record, I'm Mark Garabrandt with law offices at 692 South Willwood Avenue here in Lindenhurst, and I represent the applicant this evening, 45 Dale LLC. Accompanying me are the architect and the designer of the plans, Harold Gebhardt, and sitting to his left is Glenn Ferrante. Glenn is a principal of 45 Dale LLC, and he's also a principal of Paragon Recycling and Transfer Corp., who would be the one that actually operating the transfer station at this location and presently holds a license with the New York State Department of Environmental.
Before you go any further, Mr. Garabrandt, the Commissioner, Denise Graziano, has issued a memo regarding this application dated October the 3rd with a series of conditions and covenants and restrictions. Have you had the opportunity to review this with your client?
Yes, we have.
Do they have any objections, any concerns, anything that they would like to bring to our attention regarding the contents of this memo?
None. Thank you.
So your client agrees to all of the conditions and the covenants and
And the
restrictions?
covenants and restrictions that are being requested, absolutely.
All right, thank you very much. Please proceed.
So if I could just give you a little background about the property and the dimensions of it. The premises are located at 45 and 53 Dale Street in West Babylon, which are tax maps, District Section Block Lot 100, 74, 2, 23.8, and 22 respectively. They're located on the east side of Dale Street, 242.6 feet north of the north side of Edison Avenue, and the premises have a street frontage of 267.8 feet and a depth running up to 225 feet. The subject parcels are located in the GB industrial zone, and the total parcels combined for a total of 58,825 square feet, or 1.3 acre. The adjacent parcels to the east, north, and south are also Zone G or GB industrial and contain a number of industrial uses. Similarly, the parcels on the west side, directly across from us on Dale Street, are also Zone GB industrial, and they also contain a number of industrial uses as well. 45 Dale LLC comes here tonight proposing, as was set forth already, but to eliminate an eyesore, if you will, and restore an existing transfer station which was damaged in a fire in July of 2022. We are also seeking to legalize the expansion of the transfer station use from not only lot 23.008, which is 45 Dale, but to the adjoining parcel to the north, which is tax lot number 22, which is 53 Dale Street. We're also seeking to subdivide the original approved site plan dating back to 1993 to no longer include tax lot 23.011, which was 35 Dale Street. And lastly, we're looking to lift previously imposed town board covenants and restrictions, which were imposed over 30 years ago under Planning Board Job Number 91-026AI, which limit the ownership of the property and the operation of the facility as a transfer station to specific family members who owned it at that time, back in 1993. They also limit who was allowed to bring materials to the site, as well as the type of materials which may be brought to the site. All of this is in conjunction with associated site improvements as set forth in the plans which are before you today. Before I address the proposed site plan, I would like to address the lifting of the covenants and restrictions, and then the expansion on to tax lot 22 and the subdivision of lot 23.011. As I mentioned, the covenants and restrictions imposed previously limited the ownership of the property and the operation of the facility as a transfer station to 4 specific Ferrante family members: Glenn, his brother, and his 2 sisters, their spouses, and their issue. The covenants and restrictions also limited who was allowed to bring materials to the site, to exclusively allow only those commercial carting customers of these 4 siblings or entities of which they, their spouses, and/or their issue hold a majority interest in. And furthermore, the covenants restrictions also prohibited waste materials being brought into the site from any other Babylon commercial carters. While these covenants and restrictions do not in themselves speak to why the town was placing such restrictions on the ownership and operation, I can only surmise that the town was looking to ensure that some other family members were not involved in these operations. And I submit that whatever concerns the town had back in 1993, the passing of time has removed or rendered those concerns moot and obviated the need for these covenants and restrictions. At that time, I'm sure my client's thought process was, why do we care about this? This is a family-owned business. This is what we do. We're not going anywhere. But that was over 30 years ago, as I said. With the passage of time, my client's concerns have changed, and they need to have an eye in the future. These covenants and restrictions limited the ownership of the property and the business. The time has come for these covenants and restrictions to be removed. In my past discussions with planning, we have wondered whether you could even enforce these covenants and restrictions. Nonetheless, they effectively a cloud on title, and we are respectfully requesting that you refer this matter for the removal of these covenants and restrictions to the town board for their consideration. And as I previously indicated, my client is fully aware that there's going to be new covenants and restrictions imposed, and we're certainly on board with that. But I believe it's time for these covenants and restrictions to be removed, and I can, they're a violation of your alienability of title, not just a cloud. So that was one thing that I wanted to propose. As to the expansion onto tax lot 22, which is 53 Dale, and the subdivision of lot 23.001, which is 35 Dale, as noted in the most recent Planning Division memo of October 3rd, 45 Dale, which is part of this application, and 35 Dale, which is immediately south, originally received approval to operate a transfer station. Again, that was under Planning Board Job Number 91026AI. 53 Dale, which is tax lot 22, was not originally included in the transfer station approval. In fact, it was not even purchased by my client until 1996, well after the original approvals were obtained. But once that property was acquired, over the time, the use of this parcel as part of the transfer station was expanded upon this parcel. As a practical matter, tax lot 23.011 was never used as part of the transfer station. So the property to the south of 23.008 was never used as part of the transfer station. In my correspondence of June 21st to Planner Russo, I noted that my client advised me that the enter-only access, which was on 23.011 or 35 Dale Street, and it was depicted on plans which were prepared by Solis and Solis Architects back in 1993, in connection with the prior Planning Board application approval, was never implemented or utilized in connection with the transfer station. And according to the inclusion of tax map number ending in 23.011 in the present application has been obviated. Furthermore, as I've indicated, my client never used that premise in any connection whatsoever with the transfer station. In retrospect, and speaking with Mr. Ferrante, it appears that the inclusion of this lot was almost an afterthought, the belief being that having more properties involved in this application made it a stronger and better application. But as a practical matter, it was never used as part of the operation. As far as the premises is concerned, as I mentioned, it suffered a fire in July of 2012. In 2013, my client commenced the application process to rebuild the transfer station on 45 and 53 Dale, specifically excluding the original 35 Dale. On July 18th of 2016, under Planning Board Job Number 13-44A, the Planning Board approved my client's site plan for the rebuild of the transfer station on 45 and 53 Dale, and on March 17th, 2016, the ZBA approved all requested variances. The original 35 Dale Street, or tax lot 23.011, was never part of these approvals, nor was it a part of the application. I think it's also important to note that at that time, the subdivision of lot 23.001 was not required in connection with our application and the approvals that we obtained. And it's only presently that the Planning Department required that a subdivision of lot 23.01 be part of this application. Fortunately, because of my client's personal and family circumstances, as well as financial, at the time that they received these approvals, they were unable to move forward with the rebuild, which brings us here today. The site plan itself is slightly different than the site plan which was approved back in 2016. I'm sorry, so is this the new, I'm trying to, that's the new one? So with respect to this site plan, the original 7,005 square foot construction and demolition, the C&D processing building in the rear on the east side, that will remain. That's going untouched. And that was the same under the prior application as well. Differences from the prior application, you can't see them here, but previously in 2016, we had proposed a 1,041 square foot baler area, which was to be located on the north side of the then proposed transfer building. And all of that is now going to be housed inside the 14,000 square foot building. Additionally, under the 2016 approval, there were several compactors which were located outside into the north side of the proposed transfer building, which also have been eliminated. The 2016 plans also provided for 3 ramps, one located in the proposed transfer building on the northwest corner, and 2 others immediately north of the proposed transfer building on the west and east side of the building. Under the current proposal, there's going to be but 1 ramp, which is located inside the proposed 14,000 square foot transfer building in the northwest corner of the building. So although, and the reason I mention all this is because although we've expanded the size of the transfer station from 10,100 feet, which was the original and was the proposed rebuild under 2016 plans, to 14,000 square feet, by housing some of the outside features of the prior plan inside the building itself, I submit that the impact of the increased size of the transfer station building is not as significant as it may otherwise appear. Furthermore, I believe that housing of the baler inside the building is environmentally more sound and may very well be required by the DEC. The new transfer station, if you will, which is, it's a proposed new one, okay, is going to be 175 by 80 feet with a peak height of 42 feet. My client advises me that there have been many changes in the industry over the past several years, and the sorting equipment he is looking at, which allows for a cleaner product, is multi-leveled. And not only the installation, but the servicing of this equipment creates the need for the height variance, which we will be seeking from the ZBA. As you can see from the plans, you're going to be entering on the south side of the property where there's a scale, and then you're going to be exiting on the north side of the property where you receive, when you receive your ticket from the person who's working in the third building, which is shown on the plans as a scale house. I believe it's 10 by 20 right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll be exiting from there. We've provided 2 handicap parking spaces in the front. Cameron Engineering performed a traffic engineering review and found the application will have a negligible trip generation increase and does not warrant even a traffic study. They also had no objection to the requested parking variances. They also noted that in their experience, transfer stations have very low traffic per 100 square feet, and when buildings are rebuilt, even if they are expanded, the aim is to modernize and streamline the on-site operation and activity, and the changes will not be high enough to impact traffic flow or required traffic study. This modernization streamlining is something we are hoping to accomplish with the plans and as we've laid out for you. We're required to have the number of variances. As was required in the past, we were going to need to obtain a special permit for the transfer station in a GB zone. We need a 7-foot building height variance to maintain the sorting equipment. Front yard parking, going to be required to obtain a variance because 2 of the parking spaces are going to be in the front, but not in the front of the building itself. Off-street parking required to have 43 spaces. We have 28. We don't believe that that's going to be an issue because, frankly, we don't have more than 6 employees. So the need for much parking is not necessary. We're going to need a landscaping variance. 4,820.4 square feet is required, and we have 4,317.67 square feet. But I submit that's considerably more than the 3,181 square feet, which was approved back in 2016. Lastly, we're going to need a variance for 3 buildings. We were approved last time for 2, and now we're adding this 20 by 10 new scale house container, if you will, an overseas container, which is going to be converted. So at this point, I'll leave it open for any questions that you might have of myself or Mr. Gebhardt or Mr. Ferrante.
All right, Jimmy, you have a question?
In the building where the C&D is going to be stored, Is there any type of
Gotta speak up, Jimmy.
an air freshener system in the
It-
building where the C&D is stored at the top
It's entirely open.
to maintain the smell?
It's open. It always has been open.
Doesn't mean it should continue to be open. I get your point, without negative air pressure. Okay. This is construction and demolition.
Yes.
What else is being, just to follow up on that point, what else is being bailed?
Well, the general municipal waste.
Garbage, MSW?
Yes.
And what's being done there to contain the smell?
Well, that's actually going to be done in the transfer station itself, which we anticipate. The current plans as presented showed that both buildings were going to be opened in the back. Well, the construction and demolition was going to be open, and the transfer station itself, if you will, also showed that it was going to be open. But over the last couple of days, we've been working on revising the plans to actually enclose the new 14,000 square foot building to be constructed.
Okay, what about the air? So you're just enclosing it?
Yes.
So there's no negative air pressure to keep the smells in that baleen area?
Is that something? No,
No,
why
you have to,
why don't
if
you come
you're
on
gonna
up?
speak, you have to come up here, yeah, we have to swear you in. Hold on, please state your name and address for the record.
Glenn Ferrante, 8 Ontario Drive, Bayshore, New York, 11...
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please proceed, Mr. Frost.
So inside the building, they have machines that go into buckets or 55-gallon drums, and they atomize just deodorant and water to keep the dust down and the smell down. That's what they use to maintain no odor in the transfer stations.
Okay, thank you.
Now, does that comes from the ceiling, correct, of the building?
No,
The open building?
They could be...
How is, I guess,
They could be mounted, I've seen situations where they are 55-gallon drums and the aeration heads on them and then blows out into the air, or they could be mounted, on the walls, yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
Julianne, you had a question?
He actually answered all of them quite nicely.
Are there any other questions? Yes.
Chairman,
Counsel.
what's the proposed use or current use of the property that's being subdivided? And,
Well, it's,
and is that in the same ownership as the other parcels involved?
It's-
now in the
it is in the same ownership, but it's different entities.
Okay.
In other words, I said well, the principles are the same, but they're different entities.
What's the use on the property to be subdivided?
Carting, they have a carting business, and they have roll-offs.
Right, I see in the areas, there are a lot of containers on that property. Are they operating with permits now
Yes,
for that storage?
yes.
Julianne?
And what are the hours of operation, please?
Tell me.
7 to 4,
7 to 4?
7 days, 5 days?
5 days, Monday through Friday.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Before we close the public hearing, is there anybody else that would like to address the board regarding this application? There is no one else. Okay. I need a motion to close the public hearing. Let's see, motion by, who asked the best question? Jimmy, motion by Jimmy to close the public hearing. Okay, second by Dan. Second. All in favor? This public hearing is closed. The decision has been reserved in order for us to review the feedback we've received this evening and any open site plan issues. The record will remain open for written comments. To follow up on the status of the application or submit additional written comments, you can contact the planning department in a number of ways. In person, the planning department is located in the west wing of Town Hall. Applications, documents, plans are available for inspection between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. or by phone, 631-957-3103, or via email, planningcomments@townofbabylon.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Albin.
That concludes our